let's obviously start with your Chicago Bears. Interesting times for the Bears,
Yes.
isn't it? Because they are, once again, this dynamic, formidable, terrifying defense. But the offense just isn't matching it. And, of course, that all stems from the problems at the quarterback position.
And that was the big thought going into this year was the quarterback was going to be better because it was the second year in this Matt Nagy offense, the offense he brought from Kansas City, the Andy Reid system, to Chicago. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work. I mean, the first game, Nat, was a disaster against Green Bay, that Thursday night game. It's almost as if Trubisky had regressed. And then Matt Nagy says, okay, I got to call plays to win. I can't worry about developing my quarterback on the fly. I got to call plays that, because of this great defense, are going to allow us to win. So you saw more running in Denver. You saw more running attack against Washington. And Trubisky played better against the Redskins because they were a little more of a balanced attack. Then he gets hurt against the Vikings last week. Chase Daniel comes in, runs the system pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see with Chase Daniel. You know, he has made over $34 million American dollars. And this is his fifth start of his career.
Has he got the same agent as Kirk Cousins?
I don't know, but I would like to hire his agent to be my agent. But it's remarkable, 10 years in the league, his fifth start. He's obviously a very desirable guy to have on your team because he's got the experience. He's a good guy.
So what's the secret to a good backup?
So I think the secret is you have to be prepared. You have to go through the week preparing as if you're going to play, knowing that in reality, you're probably not going to play. So when you get thrown into a game like Chase Daniel was last week, you're good to go. Now the question is what to watch this weekend. It's one thing to come into a game when the team you're playing isn't expecting to see you. It's another thing to be the starting quarterback for the entire week. The Raiders know he's going to start. They watch all the film. They prepare for him. Last year, Chase Daniel had a good start for the Bears on Thanksgiving against the Lions. That was a very short week. The Bears actually had the shortest week ever in NFL history. They played that Sunday night, then Thursday morning on Thanksgiving in the States. So it was a very just kind of helter-skelter, throw them out there. The following week, though, the Bears played in New York against the Giants. And the Giants had extra time to get ready for Chase Daniel, and he played very poorly.
And this was not a great Giants team, we should point out as well. Interesting. Okay, so a lot of buzz, of course, is about what happens next. And Chase Daniel being a career backup, you often see a player coming in for the reasons you've just outlined, starting quite competently and maybe regressing as the weeks go by, and that's why they're career backups. They can't sustain a level of play at the highest level for very long. But this is a different kind of Bears side, or a different side to many. We've seen it before. Baltimore, of course, back in the day, and other sides that have got competency at best at the quarterback position, and it's the defense that carries them over the line and makes them a championship team. So can the Bears win the Super Bowl, or at least contend for the Super Bowl, with this great defense and Chase Daniel or Mitch Trubisky, both flawed players?
I don't think so. I think the game has evolved where you have to have your quarterback being more than just a game manager. The Ravens did it, as you said.
But even Peyton Manning more recently, I guess at the latter end of his career, was essentially that. I know he brought more smarts to it.
I think after he got hurt and came back in for the Broncos, it was a little more of a management style, but that was still Peyton Manning. And I think if you're a team playing Peyton Manning, you have to respect him. Do you really respect Mitchell Trubisky yet as a young quarterback, Chase Daniel as a career backup? So I think the Bears need more out of that position. I think the head coach knows it. It's funny because we talked to Matt Nagy the last couple of weeks, and you would ask him any question about the defense, about coming to London, about Khalil Mack, and he'd be like, because he's not focused on that. He is so focused on figuring out this offense and trying to find a way to fix it. He's obsessed with it almost, honestly. So, no, and I think the Bears, I think they feel like Trubisky should be better. He's the second overall pick of the draft back in 2017. He's a great athlete. But the difference is, and this is the key that I've learned over the years covering American football, the difference is it's one thing to be a great athlete. It's another thing to be a great quarterback. I think Trubisky's a great athlete, but he's not a great quarterback yet. And until he is, I have a hard time thinking the Bears are going to win a Super Bowl.
Okay, which is going to come as bad news, of course, to some of those defensive superstars, and most notably Khalil Mack. And obviously this game on Sunday, particularly poignant for him. The Khalil Mack deal, first things first, is it going to go down as one of the greatest deals of the last 20 years of this millennium?
Depending on your perspective. If you're the Raiders, it will go down as one of the worst.
Right.
If you're the Bears, it has to go down as one of the best. I mean, who trades a generational pass rusher like Khalil Mack in the prime of his career? I don't care how many first-round picks the Raiders got. I don't care what the compensation is. You'll never get back what you gave to Chicago. And Khalil Mack, as we talked to Chuck Pagano, who's the Bears defensive coordinator, former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and he made a comment last week where Khalil Mack directly impacts over 80% of the plays that he's on the field. Now, it might not show up as a sack or a tackle or a forced fumble, but they have a metric they keep, a stat they keep in-house that shows you that over 80% of the time, something he's doing is helping the Bears win that play. And that's remarkable because if you're a middle linebacker and you're in the middle of the defense and your job is just to follow the football, you'd be about 40 or 50%. He's an outside pass rusher, and he's still at 80%. He's unbelievable. I covered Brian Urlacher, and I think Brian Urlacher is the greatest athlete I've ever covered.
Is he a god in Chicago, Urlacher?
Oh, Brian Urlacher, and now he's got hair. He's got the hair follicle commercials.
How did that happen?
They wrote a big check, I think, is how that happened to Urlacher. But Khalil Mack is in that category. We had Julius Peppers in Chicago, but that was kind of near the end, later stages of his career, so he wasn't as good as he was early on in Carolina.
You got peak Mack, haven't you?
Yeah, this is prime of his career. This is defensive player of the year type stuff. Already with over 4 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. It's amazing what he does every single week.
Hope you enjoyed the Nat Coombs Show presented by Paddy Power Fantasy. There's plenty more where that came from. Just click subscribe to ESPN UK and you won't miss a trick.